are Sint Maarten. You are Sint Maarten.
The URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement, being a political movement, will be hosting a weekly radio program called You Are Sint Maarten, every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Radio Mix 94.7 FM. I myself, Dr. Mercelina, the political leader of URSM, will be hosting this radio program in which current issues, actualities and general topics will be discussed with the people of Sint Maarten. So join us every Wednesday on Radio Mix 94.7 for our radio show You Are Sint Maarten.
You are Sint Maarten. You are Sint Maarten.
Dear people of Sint Maarten, good evening. Welcome to your radio program You Are Sint Maarten on the Radio Mix 94.7 FM. I myself, Dr. Mercelina, will be as usual your host in this radio program. As you know, I'm the surgeon serving the people of Sint Maarten in Sint Maarten Medical Center since 1999, and as of October 2021, to be exactly the 10th of October on Constitution Day, I have founded, together with great souls with a great vision for the country, we have founded the URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement, of which I am the political leader. This URSM will be contesting, of course, the upcoming parliamentary elections for country Sint Maarten. As you know, the URSM stands for putting the people and the country above self and believes, of course, in educating and informing the people of Sint Maarten. The URSM strongly believes that we should there should be a sound balance between the economic growth of the country and the welfare status of the people of the country. We are presenting a weekly program in which current topics, community developments and issues and general matters concerning the people of Sint Maarten are discussed. As the leader of the URSM, I have spoken many times in the past about the next generation, because I do believe that the future of our country is in the hands of the next generation. But what do we have in the next generation if we do not pay attention to the education of the next generation to serve our community and our country in the future? By continuously talking about this without coming with a proof, I think we're going to stay on a theoretical level, and we should be showing the people of Sint Maarten that we can present tangible examples of the youth of the next generation that are really there to help this country in the future. Hence the reason that today I decided I'm not going to invite a common known face in community. I'm going to invite today a young person in the name of Vernee Labega. And Vernee Labega is a Sint Maarten young girl student that is at this particular moment studying medicine at the American University of the Caribbean in Cupacoi. And I thought, every time again we're talking about the next generation, talking with the students now that are going to dictate the future of this country. I thought to myself, this is the momentum. Now that I met Vernee, I said, hey Vernee, you are the example that I'm looking for to show the people of Sint Maarten that they should not give up their hope, because we have local young people that are working very diligently and seriously on their future, where the aim at the end of the day to come and serve their country as a professional. Vernee, it was a long introduction. Welcome to our radio program, You Are Sint Maarten.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mercelina, for that lovely introduction. Good evening, radio listeners. Dr. Mercelina, I just want to say thank you for having me on the show as a guest on your program. I feel very honored. So should I give a little bit about myself?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
Vernee, you are a young student, dynamic, the youth of nowadays that is going to dictate the future of this country. I met you coincidentally, and you were speaking with me, talking with me about your activity, that you are a student at the American University
Yes.
of the Caribbean studying in medicine. That is something that we need in this country, medical doctors. As you know, I'm one too. And I said, hey, I'm going to invite you to our program for us to pay attention to the students that are now actively forming their career, and in a way to make the people aware that we have to prepare for you guys, the future, in a way that we're going to make government aware too, that we have to make the environment more attractive for the young students that are busy with their career. But first of all, Vernee, the people of Sint Maarten, they don't know you, and I think it's nice if you just use your young biography that you have already, just to explain a little, who is this Vernee?
Okay, well, my name is Vernee Labega. I was born and raised on St. Maarten. I attended St. Dominic High School. During my time growing up, I was also a dancer, so I danced by the Motions Dance School from the time I was 6 until I left for college in 2015. Well, after that, after Motions, I went to Dance Theatre St. Maarten, and then I went on to university. So I went to Florida International University in Miami, where I obtained a bachelor's degree in biology. That was a 4-year program. After that, I came back. I basically studied for my entrance exam for medical school. Then I was accepted to AUC in 2020, and I began my studies at AUC in 2020. And I am currently a 5th semester student at AUC studying medicine, with the hopes to eventually come back to the island and practice and, you know, better serve the community.
Okay, impressive what you did already with your young age.
Thank you.
At this particular moment, you are, as you said, in the 5th semester at the American University, studying to become a doctor.
Yes.
It sounds very, very attractive it's very great to say that you're a student. But I was speaking with you recently, and you told me it's a serious study with a lot of challenges.
Yes.
And I would like you to explain to the people of Sint Maarten what you meant when you told me that there are a lot of challenges going with the choice to do the study of becoming a doctor for yourself and actually for Sint Maarten. Yeah,
for sure it comes with a lot of challenges. I would say starting with just obtaining your bachelor's degree. So when a lot of people don't really understand how the study of medicine goes in the U.S.-based system. So before you can attend medical school, you have to first have a bachelor's degree. Typically, you get it in a science background. So I did mine in biology. And, that was a challenging major. It requires a lot of studying, a lot of lab work, a lot of, just effort. And so first you have to obtain that, and that's 4 years. After that, you then move on to take a entrance exam. It's called the MCAT. And so you study for the MCAT for about 3 months, and it consists of all the basic sciences that you took during your undergraduate career. And you pass this exam. And then once you pass your exam, you're then able to apply to medical school. During your college years, you have to, try to keep your grades up as well, because medical schools want students that excelled prior. Mm-hmm. So you have to ensure that you're keeping your grades up. So that in itself is a challenge, but definitely doable, and once you work hard and put your mind towards something, it's possible. So I did that. And, once I did my MCAT, I was able to apply to AUC, and then I started there. Once I started, it was like, okay, like I'm living the dream. Really thankful that I was able to start there. And medical school.
Now it comes.
Medical school is different.
You are feeling what is coming, what I experienced already.
Yes.
You can talk about it.
Medical school is a different beast. Basically, it's double the work that you do obtaining your bachelor's, and that's already a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
So you can imagine doing double that work. Basically, I would wake up, attend lectures, maybe get something to eat, and then just study for the rest of the day until I went to bed. And that's pretty much still what I do.
Okay. But you have proven that you were effective in what you were doing, because now already you're in your fifth semester of your formation.
But it definitely took some adjusting,
Yeah, of course.
I didn't grasp it right away, but after a while, you learn how to handle the pace of the information that's given to you.
Stuff that you have to take care of, to learn. Okay.
Yes.
Vernee, the following. You spoke about an entrance exam. I think that's great for the younger people of Sint Maarten to be informed in case they have the ambition like you have.
Yeah.
This entrance exam, do you do it here in Sint Maarten, or you have to physically fly over to the United States, or you can do it here online, or you have to do it at the American University of the Caribbean? Explain us how that entrance exam works.
Yeah, so this exam is it's basically an entrance exam that U.S. medical schools use to evaluate their potential students. Mm-hmm. So it's a U.S.-based exam, therefore you have to take it in the U.S.
You have to go to the United States?
Yeah, you take it there.
And you did it there?
Yes.
But where did you do it, for example?
I think I did it in Orlando because I have some family there, and I'm always in Florida because that's where I went to school.
Yes.
So I did my MCAT in Orlando. Yeah.
And once you passed that, you applied to become a student by the American University.
Yes, exactly.
Of Sint Maarten. And to get there, you had the opportunity to benefit from a scholarship from Sint Maarten, and that helps a lot because it's the tuition fee, the fees are very high.
Right.
And so I want to, and I think there are some agreements made between the university here in Sint Maarten with the government that they are helping few local students also to study. May I ask you how many students of Sint Maarten are there now studying?
So right now, I might not have the exact number, but when I count, I think it's about 10 of us right now, actually.
10
yes.
Local students from Sint Maarten studying to become a doctor at the American University of the Caribbean.
Amazing,
that is promising.
Right? Yeah.
That is promising.
Yes.
In comparison with Holland, because I did my medical education at the university in Maastricht, that is the Dutch system. It was, of course, a different way. We didn't have to do the entrance exam because we did what we called in Dutch the VWO, the voortgezet wetenschappelijk onderwijs. And once you had it, you could apply to see if you could get entrance to one of the medical universities. And I was lucky to be one of them. But the medical education in Holland is 6 years. I think here you do about 2.5 years, right?
So in total, the study is 4 years. You do
St.
two.
Maarten.
No, so you do 2 in St. Maarten, and then you do 2 back in the U.S. or the UK.
And what is the name of the 2 first years in St. Maarten?
That would be the medical sciences. So that's a lot of the book work, and just the studying.
2.
That's 2 years.
And after you have passed these 2 years successfully, you have to leave St. Maarten for continuation of your education.
Yes.
And then you have to go to the United States.
Yes. Then you do your clinical rotations for the next 2 years, where you spend 6 to 12 weeks on different specialties and learning about the hospital. The more hands-on part of it. Yes. And also you still take exams and stuff like that. And some board exams.
Yeah.
And then after that, then you're considered. You get your MD. You're considered a physician.
Yes, and then you can, after achieving that, you can start thinking about a specialization.
Yes, exactly.
That you would like to go in. In my case, for example, I did my medical education, I told you, in the Netherlands. It was 6 years. And after that, I became a family doctor first.
Oh, really?
Yes, I was a family doctor for 2 years.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and once I was busy with being a family doctor, I decided that I'm going to become a surgeon.
Oh, okay.
And then I left my practice and I went back to be in training, and I did that in Belgium, in Leuven, in Louvain, and we did that in Belgium. I did that, and it took me 6 years again of training. So to become a surgeon in the European system, you have to do first 6 years of medicine, and then 6 years
specialization.
making it in total 12 years
Yep.
before you have the total responsibility as a surgeon to operate somebody. It's a long way, you know.
It is.
It has its challenges. People see the end result and say, great, this guy is a doctor, this
Right.
nice lady is a doctor. But it's a lot of energy and
Yes.
investment,
A lot of
discipline,
sacrifices.
commitment to get there. But I really appreciate to see that you are one of them that wants to challenge the commitment and your discipline to try to accomplish and fulfill your dream.
Thank you.
Very, very good. We have though a problem, I think, Vernee, when it comes to accepting doctors that do not have especially not only a European education that I have, but especially we always go for the acceptance of the doctors educated in the Dutch system.
Right.
And for example, you are a student, you're born in Sint Maarten, you're doing your education to become a medical doctor for a part here at the University of the Caribbean, and then you're going to the States. And afterward, I realize, and we all realize, that the laws are of such dimension that they are not going to permit you as such to come back to work.
Correct.
And to tell you honest, although I am educated in that European system that makes it easy for me to come work here, I disagree with the policies and the laws that we have now on the island for the admittance of medical professionals. And I do believe, in contrary to a lot of people, that I think that if you educate doctors, for example, they should be very, very aware of the culture in which they're going to execute their profession.
Oh, yes, for sure.
And you see, for example, with Dutch doctors, and I think they are good doctors, but you see, for example, when they come to Sint Maarten, although they have the good intention, you notice that there's very often a disconnect in communication and context of interpreting expressions.
Like a
and
cultural barrier.
It's a culture barrier, as you say. And I think that is what we have to try to improve. And that's why I do believe that we should work and focus more and more in trying to educate our Sint Maarten doctors loco-regional. That means either on Sint Maarten or in the vicinity.
Right.
You can even go to the States to finalize it. But I do believe that if we have doctors that are educated in the neighborhood, they will understand the context, the culture better of the people that they want to serve.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
I think that is going to be better for the care that we want to provide to the patients of Sint Maarten.
I definitely agree.
I have a task, of course, Vernee, because as you know, except the fact that I'm a doctor and a surgeon, I have the ambition also to one day have a saying in the governing of Sint Maarten, and it has my attention also to change the laws in a way that is going to benefit doctors that are educated in the neighborhood, in the vicinity, in the Caribbean, for example, doctors that come from Cuba, or our own doctors like you, partially being educated in
the United States, right?
In the Caribbean and the United States. So we have a lot of work to do in the future to see how we're going to facilitate the students that are studying now to become a doctor.
Yes, I think that
are
definitely
not
needs to
coming
happen.
from the Netherlands, but from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, until now, we are only facilitating those coming from Holland.
Exactly.
And I think that is not correct. It should be different.
Right.
Okay, Vernee, I'm very happy that you are studying medicine, and I will make the best out of it to try to accommodate you once you are ready as a medical doctor, because I would like to see you working in our hospital, and especially the new hospital.
Yes, I want to work in a new hospital.
You want to do a new hospital? Okay, so we are going to, you have to do your part, make sure
yes.
you finalize your studies, and then I will do my part to see how I'm going to get you in as one of the first local doctors that had an education in Sint Maarten, coming back after finalizing it in the States and come back to work for us.
Right.
You know, Vernee, we are talking a lot about we have many years, I think since in the 60s, we had a very known politician in the name of Dr. Da Costa Gomez. He was a political leader of the National Party, the Partido Nacional in Curaçao. And in that time, we were still in the context of the Netherlands Antilles. And he wanted badly for us to get students going abroad to study and come back. But the complaint that I very often hear is that all the students go, but we make it very difficult for them to come back. Can you tell me if you heard that too, or that you explain us a little what you think should be better to facilitate the students to come back to Sint Maarten?
Yes, I actually have heard that a lot. I think that's something that we've been hearing for like so long, that,
Yes.
you know, they send away students to study, and then when students come back, it's quite difficult for them to obtain a job right away, or, you know, basically have like a good quality of life. And I think that's a really broad topic. I reached out to a couple of friends who actually went through that process in preparation for this interview. So I have a little bit of insight. I think one of the biggest issues is that when the students come back, they just say that there's no work for them,
Yes.
especially in like what they studied, or they come back with these degrees and then they apply to jobs and people are like, well, we don't really know what to do with you. You have this degree, but we don't know exactly where we can fit you in or how we're going to fit you in. Another problem that we have on St. Maarten is sometimes people come back with degrees and they say, well, you know what, you're overqualified. We can't pay you. And it's like, okay, well, I got this scholarship from the government from study financing. There's like a priority list of studies. So you can't go away to study at understudy financing unless what you want to study is on the priority list. So it is assumed then that if you're studying something that's on the priority list, that the island, it's a priority, you know, that the island needs it. Exactly.
Yes.
So so people, you know, they go off and they study, they work really hard. Most people that go away, they obtain a bachelor's, at least that's 4 years. Or sometimes people even go further and get a master's. And I think a lot of people are really pumped and they interested in what they do and they want to come back and serve the island and better the community, because that's the whole purpose of going away to study. And then they come back and it's like, oh, we don't have a job for you. You're overqualified. Or they tell them too that they don't have enough experience. But then it's like, okay, but how do we get experience? Because especially if you go to the United States, for instance, where a lot of students are now going, it's a bit more difficult to get work experience up there because we're not actually U.S. citizens. We're on a visa, a student visa. So you're basically up there to learn, and then, you know, you kind of got to go back home. So a lot of times people don't even have that work experience. So it's different. They hear a lot of different things, but yeah, I think one of the biggest issues is just not being able to get a job in the field that they studied right away, you know?
Yeah. And I think, Vernee, I think we have to elaborate a little more on that. But unfortunately now, the time is running on us. We are going to take a small break and we will be back in a few minutes. Dear people of Sint Maarten, welcome to the second half of your radio program, You Are Sint Maarten. As you know, as I mentioned in the first half of our radio program, today we have as invité with us Vernee Labega. And as has been explained, Vernee is a young Sint Maarten girl that is now a student at the American University of the Caribbean, and she is now studying to become a doctor. So she is at the medical university as a local girl of Sint Maarten, and I have to tell you, I'm very proud that at this particular moment we have average, I think, about, as Vernee explained, about 10 local students from Sint Maarten studying to become a doctor for country Sint Maarten. Vernee, as we spoke in the first half of our program, you mentioned a few challenges for the students that want to come back home after study. The first thing you always think, that they make their life miserable, difficult for them to come back with their knowledge, with their what they studied for, to come back. Often you hear them say that they tell them there is no job for you, or you don't have experience. But I agree with you, because of course you come from school and you need to work to get experience. So if you don't give me the job, I will never get experience. And most of the time also you hear that they tell them you're overqualified.
Right.
Okay, so Vernee, let's go back. I'm going to tell you a shocking reality of the community of Sint Maarten.
Okay.
And that is that in Sint Maarten, 43% of our populace does not have a secondary school education finalized. They started or they didn't go to it, but at the end of the day, 43% of our community, and that is almost one of every two persons that you see walking on this island,
Right.
does not have a secondary. So we do not have enough educated people, and especially professionals, to help us with our young country. At the other side, you have those people that are doing their best and are sitting for years in chairs that you think, it's time maybe to change those persons or create chairs next to them to give the more qualified next generation a chance to have a say on the labor market for country Sint Maarten. And of course, there it comes. You're going to feel yourself as somebody that has been years sitting in a chair. You're going to feel yourself very challenged, very, very threatened.
Yes.
If a young person with more education than you. And it's going to be a very difficult transitional phase to get educated people in all areas on the labor market to gradually take over from those with a good intention that did it in the past. And of course, they are a little scared. And of course, they will make it difficult for the next generation to come. But it's a process of each young country in development. And we will have to be adults in this and realize that we are not there only for ourselves, but actually for the country.
Yeah, exactly. Because without the upcoming knowledge, the country can't really go anywhere. Because eventually, the people who are holding those positions are going to have to retire, and then what's going to be left.
Exactly.
So I think there needs to be more cooperation between the people that are already there and the new incoming working professionals. It needs to be more cooperation between them in order for things to transition smoothly.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is what we have to focus on. And as you know, Vernee, our Sint Maarten is a young country. Since 10 we are a country. And we have to work very seriously on our professional treasury for our country. And that is what is lacking in this country. Well-educated professionals to be in the right position, the right chairs, to do what they have to do to make this country the country that we all dream of for the future. That is where we have to go.
Yep.
Another topic that we discussed in the first half of our radio interview, Vernee, is the resistance that you get to come back to Sint Maarten because you do not have that Dutch educational background, while you got a scholarship from your country, from your government. So I'm one of them that is pushing to make it easier for non-Dutch doctors from, for example, Sint Maarten and the Caribbean to get the opportunity to work in Sint Maarten. And I hope you find it a good idea.
Of course, it's definitely a discussion that I have, with my parents and my peers who are also studying at the school, because it is a concern. We're studying, we're given the opportunity to go abroad to study in the United States, and then to come back here and study medicine here. So the government is aware that these things are happening. So I think they need to start looking into the other side of it, the laws and the policies, as you stated before, to, allow us to be able to come back here and work smoothly without any hassle, without it taking 2 years to finalize the review of documents. I think there needs to be a process started where they can really understand what we're studying, the licenses that we get, and allowances for us to be able to come back and work here smoothly.
Of course.
Yeah.
Vernee, I have worked recently on a draft law, and I'm waiting for the right momentum to introduce it. And actually, we presented it already to the Minister of Health
Okay.
But until now, there was not much enthusiasm for our draft law. But okay, it is what it is. We continue believing that we're doing good for the country. And in that draft law, I wanted to make a law system that makes it possible for country Sint Maarten to have its own medical professional registry system.
Okay.
So now that you have to come with the BIG registration, that is the one, the Dutch law that says that you have to be registered with the big registration, de beroepen in de gezondheidszorg. No, we don't need a BIG in Sint Maarten. We are going to actually make our own BIG registration.
Okay. Yeah.
That, for example, if you come from the United States or your education is from the American University of the Caribbean of Sint Maarten, that we know exactly how to deal in recognizing your paperwork in a way that it's not more inferior than a European one. We know exactly the quality of the American university.
Exactly.
We know exactly the quality and the level of education that you did afterward in the United States. And in that way we're going to facilitate our own local students that made a choice to educate themselves in Sint Maarten or in the vicinity to come back to Sint Maarten.
Exactly, because if that process is easier, then you'll have students being more likely to come back. Because, a lot of times people say, oh, they go away to study and they don't want to come back. Well, because sometimes things are challenging,
Of course, okay. Vernee, you're studying for medicine.
Yes.
Tell me a little about your dreams for the future with your profession.
Well, my aspiration is to be a pediatrician.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
I always wanted to be a pediatrician ever since I was a little girl. And so far, I still want to do that. Yes.
We need pediatricians in Sint Maarten, I can tell you that one. So you want to become a pediatrician, a general pediatrician?
Yes, a general pediatrician.
And I think you have a second dream, and that is to come work as a pediatrician
in the new hospital.
In Sint Maarten, right?
Yes.
That will be a great, great, great achievement if you could come back to work and serve your country as a local girl from Sint Maarten as a pediatrician.
That's the goal.
And that is what we have to work on, Vernee, to get more and more local professionals back in the key positions in our community to help our own people, to show the world that we can do it on our own too.
Yes.
And that is important for the future.
Representation matters.
Pardon?
Representation matters, and also to show the younger generation coming up to if I can do it, so can you.
Of course, that's also a way of leading by example.
Yes.
You show them that it's possible, and you give them the necessary example for them to follow you in their dreams too. Okay, Vernee, you want to come work in Sint Maarten, but that means before that is the case, you have to finalize this year. And then you're going to the States to finalize an extra 2 years?
Yes.
And after that, will have to get a hospital to get the training to become
to do a residency,
So actually, you have a few more years.
Yeah.
4 more years to go.
Yeah, it would be about another 5 years in total I would be away.
To get to where you want to be.
Yes.
So let's put it roughly 6 years from now.
Yeah.
Hopefully we will have here in Sint Maarten Dr. Labega.
Yes, hopefully.
As a pediatrician for country Sint Maarten. Something else, Vernee, that I'm working on is that I do believe with my political party that we have to pay a lot of attention to educating our people. I had, for example, 2 weeks ago, I had here in my program the president of the University of Sint Maarten, and I was discussing with him that I do believe at the end of the day we should see a possibility to start with a medical faculty with the umbrella of the University of Sint Maarten as the parapluie that covers those faculties. For example, American University is also, of course, welcome, but it would be great to have a national medical faculty for country Sint Maarten, and we can all place it under the supervision of the University of Sint Maarten, the USM. And also, I believe in a faculty of law for country Sint Maarten.
Right.
So we have a lot of work to do still with this young country. Do you know the other students that are studying with you now? Do you know that they are did you hear already of students from the Caribbean, the University of the Caribbean, that they are already abroad specializing? Do you have a few examples? Or at this particular
I
moment?
know of one student. Well, she's
Yeah.
actually a physician now. She went to AUC, a local,
Oh, yeah.
another local. She recently graduated, and now she's away doing her residency. Her name is Dr. Gums.
Okay.
Yeah. So she already went through the entire process at AUC. She got the scholarship. She did everything, and now she's away actually specializing.
But
so.
you don't know what she's doing exactly, right?
I know she wanted to do anesthesiology.
Ah, great.
But I'm not sure if that's what she's doing residency in currently. But I do know that she did match into a residency. I'm just not 100% sure what specialty she matched into. But I know she's away right now doing her residency.
You went to school in Sint Maarten, and of course after that you did a bachelor in biology.
Yes.
In the States, right? And now you're sitting with American students here in Sint Maarten doing the medical study. Do you see a big difference between you and the Americans?
No, not really. I don't really be looking for differences, but we mean like in terms of education?
Yes, in terms of education.
No. St. Maarten has a lot of very intelligent
And potential
intelligent students, and you see that by the time we go away for college. We can sit in classrooms and
easy and follow the
and
lessons.
excel just as the other students would, for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there is not a big level difference between the Americans that study here
No.
and our locals.
No,
So
for
that
sure
means
not.
That we can, as we say, right?
Yeah, actually, another one of my peers, she's like a year ahead of me. Her name is Luna. She's from St. Maarten, one of the students. She was actually the top of her class at AUC.
Incredible.
Literally number one. And she's a local from here,
Yes.
So
we shouldn't be scared.
no,
to
definitely
dream big.
not. Yes, exactly. St. Maarten people are very capable.
Of course.
And that's
of
just
course.
like for medicine or any field that they go into,
No, but that's the reason also that I ask you, for you to really show the people that are listening now that it shouldn't be a problem for our locals to think big and dream big.
Of course, yeah.
That's the only way for you to get there. Okay, and at this particular moment, you live at your parents' house, or you live on the campus? Is it a possibility to live on the campus here at the university?
So your first semester you can live on campus, and then after, like in the second and third, you have to move off campus. But most of the students stay in the area, like in Jordan Village in Kupakoi or any other apartments. So I was staying at the Emerald in Maho.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I stayed there for about a year. And now I'm back home again because it's just like my last semester, so I'm finalizing. So I'm just back home now.
But if for you to do the first year, you have to accommodate yourself, live in the vicinity of...
You can live at home.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Does
I know
the
St. Maarten
university-
students that just stayed at home completely, but I did go down there for a year because it was nice to be around students and be in that environment,
And the university has its own campus, or you have to rent something in the vicinity of the university?
So there's a campus, but only first semester students are allowed to stay on campus.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So then after that, then you find something in the vicinity. But it's a small little community, so everybody can just walk to school and, and walk to the library and back. Yeah.
We do have also, that's nice for the listeners, that we do have students from the American University that are coming for a orientational day to walk with us in the hospital. And that is nice too,
Yeah.
because then we do the rounds with them.
Yes.
We go in the morning, we start at 8 o'clock, and then we do in the early morning, we do our rounds. And then we have the American students from the university here are doing rounds with us. And it is nice,
It is.
because they're young and, of course, a little inexperienced. And it's nice to walk with them. You can discuss the cases with them.
Yes.
The individual diseases. They
Get
have
that
their
hands-on experience.
It's
Yeah,
nice, eh?
yeah,
It's
it
very,
is.
very nice. So perhaps maybe I will see you in the nearby future too,
Hopefully.
in the hospital. Great. What more can I ask you, Vernee? One question more I have for you is, it's an absolutely must for you to go to the States to specialize, or can you go to Europe too after you finish your medical study as such?
So typically, because it is, an American school, we do American board exams. Typically, you will study you will do your residency in the United States. I've heard that you can also do it in the UK. I haven't gotten that much information about that yet, because AUC also has like a sister campus in the UK. But I'm not really familiar with the process of doing residency in the UK. For the most part, I'm aware that most of the times the students, they do their residency in the US.
And then after that, after you finalize that, after your residency, for you it will be easy because you would like to come back home to serve your people of your country. We have a task also, Vernee. Our responsibility until you finish is for us to see how we're going to finalize our General National Hospital that we started. Sometimes I have some nightmares if I see how they're busy with this new hospital. Yes, because it's going at a very slow pace. But as you know, I'm now with a political movement, the URSM, and I'm praying every day to God to give us the opportunity in the nearby future to be part of the next government of Sint Maarten, because as somebody that knows a lot about healthcare and since 1999 worked in the healthcare of the hospital of Sint Maarten, I really know all ins and outs of the hospital care for country Sint Maarten.
Right.
And I really want to finalize this big project called the National General Hospital for country Sint Maarten. But the way we are doing it now and the pace that it's going very slow. And I said once that if we continue the way we are constructing this hospital, it's going to become a nightmare for the finance of country Sint Maarten. But I think that is not your problem. Your problem is for you to finalize your education, for you to become a pediatrician.
And to hope that by the time I'm
back,
it's done.
That I did my part in government to finalize this hospital.
Right.
That will hopefully serve the people of this country. Vernee, before we close, I would like to give you the floor for some closing remarks if you want.
Okay, well, I just wanted to let any young listeners know that if whether you're in elementary school or high school, planning to go to college, I wanted to highlight the importance of just getting your education. And I wanted to just reiterate that it is more than possible for St. Maarten students to go abroad and to excel. I've done it. So many of my friends have also went away and, excelled. And, we're no less than any other country, any other students that are away. So, if you have big dreams, if you have goals, there's always ways for you to be able to accomplish them, as long as you stay focused, you do your research in like what you want to study, you work towards it, you don't give up. There's always going to be challenges along the way, but perseverance is something that's very important. And once you have something in mind, you can always make that a reality by persevering and pushing forward and just doing what you have to do. So I just want everybody to know that whatever dreams you have, you can definitely accomplish them.
Very nice. Vernee, now that you said it in closing, my father always used to stimulate me to say, Luc, make sure that you have an education. And he always had two reasons why people should educate themselves. And he told me, Luc, in the first place, education, whatever study you do, education gives you, at the end of the day, a helicopter view in the world that you can understand life better, understand the dynamics in a community.
For sure.
Understand the inter-individual dynamics, and that helicopter view makes you a rich person in your mind. That's just one.
Yes.
Secondly, he told me, you know what study does with you too? He said to me, Luc, once you're an educated man, you're going to realize in life that a lot of doors in life are going to open for you. And I understand exactly. Once, for example, the governor invites me to a reception. It's not because I have a nice face. No, he is inviting me because he wants to invite the surgeon that serves the country to be there.
Yes.
So that is due to education that I got the opportunity to get this invitation. That's a personal one, but it is a part of educating yourself.
Of course.
And thirdly, what education does, it improves your individual life in the community because you have stability in income, you have a decent income, you have a respectable position in the community, so you're going to have a nice life.
And you have a purpose,
You have a purpose.
That's really important.
And the fourth one is it gives a lot of satisfaction if you can give back the knowledge that you have to serve the bigger context of the people of your country.
Exactly.
And I think that's a bigger satisfaction that I have experienced with my education. Vernee, it was for me a great honor and a great pleasure to have you as an invitee in our program, You Are Sint Maarten.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Yes, and most of all, I have to tell you, I'm very proud of a person, a leader of a political movement, to have persons like you and jump on them and come with them to my radio program to show the people of Sint Maarten that with discipline and with commitment you can achieve whatever dream you have in your mind. And I think you are an example for us. Vernee, don't let us down. We are counting on you in the nearby future.
Oh my gosh, the pressure.
Pressure is high, eh?
Yes.
But okay, we have to continue pressuring you, and that's the only way to get you there. And hopefully the new General Hospital of Sint Maarten will have its first pediatrician born in Sint Maarten.
Yes, thank
Great.
you.
Vernee, thank you very, very much to be here with us. I wish you a lot of success, and hopefully, with God's help, you will get through in life.
Thank you so much. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are getting to the end of our radio program. I want to thank you to be with us today in our interview with Vernee Labega, as a medical student of the University of the Caribbean. I want to invite you to be once more with us back in our radio program on Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on Radio Mix 94.7. Have a great evening.